We're starting to see what the president's takeover of policing in Washington, D.C. looks like. National Guard troops arrived today. The Pentagon says about 800 have been activated in support of law enforcement agencies. Today, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told reporters they've made 23 arrests on charges ranging from fare evasion to homicide, and their role will be reevaluated, she said, in 30 days. She was asked about plans for other cities, which the president named yesterday, and she did not walk it back.
Look, the president is speaking about what he'd like to see take place in other cities around the country. Right now, this administration is focused on making D.C. safe and beautiful again. When the time comes, we'll talk about that.
Among those other cities the president mentioned in passing yesterday, which we should note are all governed by Democratic mayors, is Baltimore. Joining us now is Maryland's Democratic Governor Wes Moore. Governor, it's good to see you. You've said that the president's decision to deploy the National Guard, you called it deeply dangerous. What's your message to citizens who say regardless of crime?
This is typical Democrat politician speak. Whenever they want to put a point across, they use words framed to make people panic, make people scared, and to make people feel like the other person is dangerous and harmful. I hear that word thrown around a lot, and I think it is dishonest to enter into an argument by, first of all, injecting fear. It's worked for Democrats for decades. And I think that people have to begin to see this technique and begin to call it out. Personally, once someone begins to inject fear in a conversation, I stop listening to them because they want me to respond emotionally. And that's really what a lot of Democrat voters do. They vote emotionally, they react emotionally, they respond to conversations emotionally without facts. And when you try to get them into a factual conversation, they break down. They can't have a factual conversation because all they want to talk about is the emotion of the topic.
Data or trends, this makes them feel safer.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I'm angered. And frankly, I'm heartbroken for the members of the National Guard who are asked to take on this mission. As someone who has served this country overseas and who has led soldiers in combat, and as someone who is not just a
yes, I appreciate the fact that he served overseas. Thank you for your service. But using it as a clutch to emphasize your dislike for the enforcement of law and order in Washington, D.C., using the National Guard, I would say is wrong. I had a stronger word at the back of my mind, but cooler heads prevailed. It's wrong. Because the crime statistics are there. Local law enforcement is outmatched, cannot handle this in the short amount of time that the president needs it to be handled. Something else has to be done. And so saying that you're deeply angered for the way the National Guard is being used is not the solution to the problem. The problem is that there's crime on the streets. The citizens need help. The local law enforcement is stretched thin. What's your solution? To be angered. I really, really, when someone steps up and says, I'm a Democrat and I'm running for this or the other, I'm like, okay, please just tell me something solid. Tell me something reasonable. And people who are reasonable, like the Tulsi Gabbers, like the RFKs, John Fetterman is circling the drain right now because he's making too much sense. People like that get flushed out of the Democrat Party. I wouldn't be surprised if very soon John Fetterman runs, as an independent. But he can't because of the way the politics in the United States is structured. But they push out people who have common sense. Everyone else has to toe the party line. Use fear. Use fear. Open with fear. Open with emotion. It's all about emotion and fear. So,
63rd Governor of Maryland, but also the Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard, I take very seriously about how, when, and why I deploy members of our National Guard in cases of emergency and in true crises. And I will not authorize.
All right, so what's going on in Washington, D.C. is not a true crisis. According to you, it's not a true crisis. That's unfortunate for the people who have lost family members, for the people who have suffered great tragedy due to the crime in Washington, D.C. Let's look at the chat, because I think we've heard enough from him. There's nothing more we can hear. It's just going to be the same narrative. He's just going to keep repeating it. All right. So here's a comment from Twitter. So Fox News had him on and he was interviewed by Lawrence, and here's a screenshot by someone who says, "Lawrence, please don't feel bad. Marylanders have the same face when Moore talks. Moore never answers the question. It's a word salad. He's mastered this. He will say a lot of nothing. When you come to Maryland, please talk to the county people. You will be doing USA a favor." You see, you have these politicians going out there and saying that there's nothing going on. Everything is fine. Make sure you ask these dumb questions about his own mismanagement of the state of Maryland. He's nothing but a lying sack of S. Look at that. That's the guy who says that he's upset about the National Guard being deployed to save people in DC. He's upset, but his own jurisdiction is run down, is failing. These are his constituents. Why do you have these people on? I don't want to listen to them. If I did, I could watch CNN or MSNBC. Look, we have to listen to these guys. We have to put them on. We have to listen to them so that we can hear the insanity. All right? We can hear the insanity. We need to bring them in. It's great that Fox News is having them on so that you can hear what they have to say when simple questions are asked. Great effort, Lawrence Jones on Fox and Friends to interview slippery Democrat Governor Wes Moore. You can tell Moore is running for president as a moderate like Democrat Newsom. All right. Moore and Newsom are moderates in the sense Biden and Walz are moderate compared to their running mates. Yep. They always go for fringe policies. And it's really strange and disturbing.